Hello, my friend. Today we're going to be exploring the wonderful world of thoughts and emotion and reality creation, and what is ultimately the main influential factor of how our world appears the way it does. We're going to be referencing the map of consciousness very much from David Hawkins, which is very relevant to this. Because one of the big things I got from the map of consciousness was it's actually the emotion which is creating our reality. Because once we tune into a certain emotion, we then attract in all the associated thoughts that are aligned with that emotion. This is when it starts to get very nuanced. And I spoke to someone about this the other day, and she was referencing that she could see how her thoughts were creating her reality. And she'd associated it to a thought had come in. And then from that thought, there was an associated cause like effect into the world. And I did flirt with the conversation of it was the deeper aspect of that, the emotional framework, which she actually wasn't fully aware of. And that's totally fine because often we talk about or very much tuned into it's thinking that creates our reality. But that nuanced distinction of if we go into the feeling tone, the emotion, and emotion and frequency are very much intertwined as one. We could use the emotion of fear. Once we tune into the fear, what's going on within us, we'll resolve that fear response within us, that fight or flight that's potentially gone on for a little bit longer than what it should be deployed for. We build ourselves up and tune into that frequency, which then attracts in all the thoughts that are associated with that emotion. And it's from there that we orchestrate and create that cage and that paradigm, which could be labeled the survival paradigm, which then creates and then is the building blocks of everything that we experience. But it all starts with that emotional framework. We can look at the map of consciousness and we can see everything that's below the line of truth. We could look at pride, we can look at anger, we can look at fear, we can look at grief, we can look at apathy. And each level at any given time that we're tuned into, due to our nervous system dynamics, will then create the reality and the energetic pattern that's aligned with that emotion. And the journey is about resolution and identity evolution, because we can be tuned into any of those at any given time. We can fluctuate. None of it's a linear process. If you think about the eternal fabric of potentiality, it is just moving around. It's like a good analogy is an little iron filing in this magnetic field of just moving around. We go from grief for a little bit, someone passes away, like some we go through massive change, so we're vibrating over here and we're still there. And it's from that vibration that which then we start to have the associated thoughts, which then turn into the matter and touchy feelingness of the reality that we experience through the physical world. And then we might ebb or flow again. We go from grief into fear. Then we kind of like tune into that frequency, and then we start pulling in all the thoughts and associated things. We start to observe things through that eye, which then changes the actuality of our environment. And we resolve. This is what the healing process is all about. And the healing process is just about deep inner mechanical dynamic resolution. We start to understand our nervous system. We start to regulate our nervous system via conscious communication, however that may be. Everyone has their own unique pathway for that. How we breathe through that, how we're going to start moving through that, how we're going to start evolving our identity and evolving and ascending higher up the scale. Because once we start to tune into higher capabilities, higher finer forces, like Christian Larson talks about, the finer forces, which is when we go into courage, when we go into acceptance, when we go into joy, when we go into peace, when we go into love, that we then start to tune into those frequencies, which then have different associated thoughts coming in. And the further up you go, you find the less thinking there is. We're almost building our way up to no thinking. There's no thoughts. There's just this, there's a flow state of being that we're working our way through reality, but it's still engaging with the external world. There's still this world out there. To all the people talking about the illusion game, the not real game, there is a world out there. It's just how what's going on in here starts to engage with it differently. But the power is it's coming from in here, which is influencing out there. And it all comes down to this emotional framework, the resolution of emotion, the transcending through different layers of emotion. And we ebb and flow between them, but we change the predominant. When we talk about even science and mathematics, and we can make it quite objective, we're just changing the percentage game. At the earlier on in the game, we're unaware, we're ignorant to what's going on. So the higher chances of us being in that those lower dense states are much higher. The probability is a lot higher. So our world is congruent with that higher probability of what we experience. But then we start to become awake. Oh my God, we're awake now. We're awake now. Oh God, everyone thought that was going to be joyful, didn't we? Hey? Yes, yes. What a joyful time that is. I actually did a post on this the other day talking about the the thing that we're sold when coming out of survival is this. We're actually kind of like, nervous system evolution is actually about increasing our capacity to feel more fully what we've been running from. Oh, dang. Oh, back in the room. So not it's actually kind of like when we're numbed out on cocaine, doing our thing, taking all the vices. We're ignoring everything that's going on within us, and we think we're just going to go with now. We're kind of like moving into this awakening feel. We've woken up, brilliant, lights coming in. But then there's a pain that comes with that. There's the pain that comes with that, and ultimately the shifting of coming out of that reality that we created from all those different emotional frequencies that we were tuned into, which had created this paradigm. And the identity delusion, the identity disillusionment starts when you come out of that and you start to question, who am I? What am I? What am I go? Like, how does this all work? What is reality all about? How does it all form? What's going on? I'm the observer observing myself in the universe of collapsing potentiality. But where were we? Reality creation, 100%. We start regulating our nervous system. We start changing that emotional frequency. We start tuning into different emotional frequencies, and we start seeing how it all starts being reflected. And we start to find that okayness with where we're at. We start to be okay and accept and feel fine with, if we tune into grief for a little bit, it's okay. Things become less sticky. I remember Jim Carrey talking about an analogy that he said, things just become less sticky. And those dense emotions, what I'm talking about, ones that are below the line in the map of consciousness, the lower density survival paradigm emotions, we still experience that. That's the thing. It's not spiritual bypassing. It's not being deluded. Like, you can be, sometimes be more, the more spiritual we become, the more delusional we become. You know what I'm saying? We're like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? We're just going to bypass all that, because we're just enlightened and stuff, don't need that anymore. It's actually, no, we do. We still experience it, but it becomes less sticky. We become less associated with it. We start to feel the more not realness of it, and through that it becomes less sticky. It starts, this isn't, you're kind of passing through it. You start to feel that the metaphor analogy of just like thoughts, like things just being clouds. And it's almost like we talk about thoughts being like clouds, But then we can talk about emotion being like clouds as well. We're just passing through it. We're passing through the transitoriness of it, of them, and becoming closer more and more to truth, more and more to what is eternal and real. And it's all cool. We're all just part of this. We're all kind of coming together, just little iron filings, working our way through different emotions, and it's all autonomous anyway. It's all automatically happening. We're not even doing anything. It's just automatically happening. How brilliant is that? That's fantastic. That was good. That was good information to hear and let land when I feel like, well, I'm doing this, aren't we? We're doing it. We're creators. We're co-creating. No, we're not. We're just like we're just showing up. We're just observing it all, just seeing how it all unfolds, man. Are you still with me? Are you still kind of still tuning into this video? That's cool. Thank you for being here. But yeah, fantastic. We are creating from on autonomous nature. We are creating from the emotion frequency that we are tuned into. And we are shifting and moving through different layers at any given moment, ebbing and flowing, working our way, things becoming lighter, things becoming less resistant, going into a more non-resistant flow-based lifestyle, coming more into that natural alignment, that state of being, expressing from that true state, helping people along the way. Woo. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Well, my friend, I just wanted to kind of explore this today, talk about emotions and frequencies and what we're all kind of working through, how it's all associated, how it's all coming together, how it's all being expressed. We're collapsing that potential into actuality. Yes. Woo, exciting times, trying to make it playful along the way when we can, but okay when we're not, when we're like serious and, doing our serious spiritual thing, that's cool as well. I've definitely worn that. Definitely ebbing and flowing with that. But yeah, sending you so much love, my friend, on your journey. Please send me a comment where you're at, where you are right now. Be raw, be true, express yourself in any way you feel aligned in the comments. I'd love to hear where you're at. But sending you so much love, and I'll see you in the next frequency and video.